money grows in trees. But why do you even want to be rich, right? Hello and welcome back to my channel. Have you ever thought about a life when you're in your 20s or 30s and you're just breaking free from a 9 to 5, being able to travel the world and not worry about paying the bills? It is not so far-fetched. I just think that by sharing a couple of secrets with you today, you are one step closer to achieving that dream. We can get rich in our 20s and 30s, but only if we educate ourselves about the psychology and the secrets behind money. So today I'm going to be sharing 10 highlights from the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. It is a book that is a phenomenal. It's something that just compares how two people can be brought up in the same environment, just with different approaches in life. One can end up becoming stable, normal, just following the system of a 9 to 5, which is the poor dad in this sense, and then a rich dad who had a different outlook in life and instead invested the money in assets. So today from that book, I have 10 highlights to share with you. And whether you're in your 20s, whatever, 30s, it's something that if you start applying today, it will work for you just by educating yourself. And it's never too late to start if you know what you're doing and knowing the outlook of life. You will never achieve financial freedom just by having a 9 to 5. That is just becoming submissive to a system that does not have our back. So stick till the end to know the 10 highlights from the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, which is something that I feel like it's very important for us to know early in our lives. So let me start by giving a brief overview of the book. And the whole idea just falls behind him comparing and contrasting two people who brought wisdom to his life. His biological father, which is the poor dad in this book, he is well educated, followed the traditional method of a 9 to 5. Where in contrast, the rich dad is actually his friend's father, and he just realized that he took a different approach of investing in assets and businesses rather than just working a 9 to 5. So what happened is the rich dad ended up being one of the richest men in Hawaii. So in this book, he cuts down the different stories he feels like are valuable. But I made it brief into 10 highlights from this book for you to work on today. And as you go, remember that there is so much wisdom in learning and educating ourselves. Highlight number 1 is financial education is key. Understanding that money and how it works is the first way to start. Understanding the difference between income, assets, liabilities. It's very important for us to understand because as a person who is in my 20s, I feel like not knowing certain aspects of money and just thinking that money is just something that I could save on and keeping money into my savings account is actually me losing money on the long term. So when I started to educate myself about how saving money is actually you're losing money, it made me interested about how the system works. So the first aspect of this book, and it's a very key important part, is educate yourself about how money works. And that is just, this era has provided so much free information that you can do starting by YouTube. You can literally learn so much financial education from different people in different fields of finance, whether it's finance investors, investment banking, or even real estate investors. It is very important for us to educate ourselves. And we need to understand by starting with education, it is the one step closer to achieving that dream and becoming rich as that rich dad has become because he actually knew the difference between income, assets, and liabilities. Highlight number 2 is the importance of assets. Knowing that there's a difference between assets and liabilities. Liabilities is something that keeps taking money out of you, where assets is bringing money for you. So understanding that investing in assets is an important part. And you might think, I don't have money to do it, but investing in assets does not have, you can always start small. It doesn't have to be big. For example, investing in stocks or real estate at a very early age, as over time, the compound interest will make you rich because you're just looking at it right now that, oh, I could be using this money for something else. But just remember, if you're working a 9 to 5 and you're not taking a chunk out of your money each month, you will probably not reach your goal. But understanding that it's okay to fail, even if you invest and fail, it's fine as long as you're learning, because once you start becoming an expert on these things, making businesses or investing in assets that make money for you will become so easy. But you have to start today. Even if you're right now watching this at 20 years old, you have to start today. Even if it's by $1, it will make a difference on the long run because whether you make money or not, you're still educating yourself on how these things work. The third point, and I covered a little bit on it on this point, is investing early. Just understanding that the earlier you start, the more you would grow in terms of your finances, because compound interest over time will make you money. And then now you'll start understanding that, okay, now that I'm making money, I can use that to invest in bigger things. As earlier mentioned, if you start small by stocks and you make enough money that you can invest in real estate, or your 9 to 5 is enough, making you enough money where you can take some of that as a down payment for a mortgage, and then have real estate where people can pay for you through that mortgage. It is time efficient skill to have when you start early. So investing early is a very important thing to do. And if you look at people who are rich right now, some people started buying crypto from a while back when it wasn't known, and now they're millionaires. Why? It's because they just wanted to play around with how they could start from early, but had they known, they would have put more, but at least they tried. So for me, I think that investing early is a very important point. Maybe you don't have the time for it, but honestly, just starting by educating yourself and asking people what they do, and just looking around you and seeing what works for people, what doesn't. You can always try for what works for you. And you might be feeling like, I don't want the headache. I felt so many times that I feel like I don't want to feel the anxiety of putting my money in something. But to be honest, just educating myself helps me a lot. And just talking to people that know and are like wise about these investments, it's a very important place to start. Because if you educate yourself, it's like you're compounding education, and over time you will become an expert just by knowledge. So don't feel ever that it's too early to start, because there's nothing like starting early. The fourth highlight is entrepreneurship mindset. In this book, he emphasizes on, even if you're working a 9 to 5, you should think like a business owner. And because you should always put yourself in a situation of where you manifest or you visualize yourself being, having that entrepreneurship approach to things will help you a lot, because now you're going to start seeing opportunities of business everywhere you go. And you would start approaching friendships like investments in network. For example, if you're making friends just to go out with them, now, if you have a business mindset, you're going to start thinking about how you can build your network instead of having more friends, but you're having a network that would actually help you invest in your business one day. So having that mindset is very important. And the way you can accomplish that is by reading business books. It's by doing courses online, or watching even YouTubers who are experts in this field. I wouldn't say I'm an expert in this field, but because I find that this book has really good highlights that can make people in their 20s and 30s grow rich, I thought it would be very easy to just cut them down into 10 highlights and making it very clear and concise for people at this age. So for you, whether you're starting or you started, it's still important to know that if you're here watching this, or if you're watching other YouTubers talking about it, I think it's very important. Just by starting to invest in yourself and your knowledge, it's one step closer to your dreams. The fifth highlight I want to talk about here today from this book is embracing financial risk. Although playing around with money, and I've done that before, I played around with my money and I've lost some. But to be honest, Kiyosaki suggests that being too risk averse can actually hinder your financial growth, which means that if you're putting a possibility of risk happening in there and you're still doing it, then that's fine, because at the end, if you lose, you still win because you're learning knowledge. But if you're always worried about risk, then you're not going to grow, because there is always risk in the finance market. There's always risk when you put your money somewhere. There's no such thing as no risk. And if there's no risk, then everyone would do it, right? So what differentiates you from someone who actually is worried about the risk is that you took the risk but you won. And even if you lost, it's okay. Always do calculated risks. So for you, once you start taking smaller risks, you'll get smarter at it, because now that you learned from smaller inputs, you're actually being able to calculate your risk as you go forward. So that's why, bringing back to the point of starting early, the earlier you start, the more likely for you to be more professional in calculating your risks as you go. And the way it works is because the more you grow, the possibility of you making more money, you're going to be investing more in money. So now that if you start early, you're actually able to calculate the risks as you grow more in income. So it's very important to tie these two together, is that start early, take risks, maybe take smaller risks, but as you go and you learn, you'll be able to calculate your risks better. The sixth highlight that I want to talk about today is mindset matters. It is very important for us to approach money in a positive mindset. For example, if you are a person who always wants to be in your comfort zone and you're not pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, then you probably will not grow. It's because there's so much stability and comfort, but the moment you start understanding that you need to change your mindset and trying new things and trying new different investments and having moving from one country to another, there's opportunity for growth there, because your mindset is moving towards positivity and is moving that I want to expose myself to different cultures. I want to expose myself to different markets. I want to be able to learn. So there's so much value in that. So understanding that there is no need for you to be always having this approach of like, my mindset is closed up for just a 9 to 5, save money, pension, retirement, that's it. You need to have a mindset change. The next highlight I want to talk about here is leveraging passive income. And in this point, I'm going to differentiate the difference between assets and liabilities. Liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket, while assets are things that put money into your pocket. So understanding that for you to be rich, you need to be able to understand that I need to have something that's making money for me while I'm just sitting there doing other things. So remember, just like you're trading your time for money at a 9 to 5, but now instead when you're having assets, you're allowing your money or investments to make money for you. So that could start, for me, honestly, like I would say some people don't even have enough to spare, but this could look like anything. You could be investing in a YouTube channel, right? You're putting your time, okay? You're investing in equipment, but on the long run, it could pick up and make you something that is your own brand. It's something that you invested in, but you're now, instead of just working a 9 to 5, you're doing something on the side that you really enjoy. But on the long run, it could not work. But other things like the different aspect, but then obviously this is just an aspect for someone who I think could not have spared to put into stocks. But with the time you're working a 9 to 5 and you have enough to invest in stocks or invest in real estate, 100% go for it. And like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just giving you highlights from a book that is very important, and I think everyone should read it. And for you, if you really want expert, you should always remember that starting by educating yourself, you could find information everywhere. Highlight number 9, which Kiyosaki emphasizes on, is learning from mistakes. And this just applies to every lesson in life, but in finances, it's very important to learn from our mistakes because we cannot afford to make the same mistake twice. We have to make sure that every time we fail, which is something good because we're failing, but we're moving forward from that, it's to learn from your mistakes. So just please understand that it is okay to take risks. It is okay to make mistakes. No one just woke up and they were perfect and everything. People failed a lot, lost so much money, but they didn't give up, because losing money means you would never repeat that mistake again. So learning from them is a valuable lesson for you. So starting early, as I mentioned earlier, you're actually making mistakes on a small amount of money. So as you grow, you're making investments with bigger money, but you're learning mistakes from the little money that you have invested back when you were younger. The last point I want to talk about here is financial goals. When you have a set mind, like why do you want to be rich? Having a set, clear goal will help you have a clear mindset as you approach this money journey, because money grows in trees. But why do you even want to be rich, right? For me, I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to open my own charity foundation to help people that need it, because I have seen with my own eyes how much a little bit of money can make a difference, right? So for me, I have goals to be comfortable, to make my family comfortable, to make my kids comfortable in the future when I have kids, and then to have just ability to help people. So for you, once you set the goals, you kind of have a roadmap for it. But continue educating yourself every day. Whether you have the money or not, education is still a powerful knowledge to have. And like Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. Whether it's in wealth, whether it's in productivity, professional development, and this is something I'm dedicated to help you guys on, whether it's anything that you need to hear in your early 20s and 30s. For you, it is important. So these are the 10 highlights from Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and I think that it's very important for you to know that these highlights, regardless of knowing them, also read or listen to the audiobook. And I will see you on my next video. I'll also drop a link on the description box for my mailing list so you can get updates first. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any additional tips. I'll see you on my next video. Bye.